Órale! Bienvenidos and welcome to the Familia FFB podcast. This is your host, Jorge Martin. We're going to Jersey, Familia. We're going to Jersey. Oh, my goodness. Land of Springsteen, Billy Joel, and Jason. You guys know I'm fans of both of those. I'm a huge fan of our invitado as we continue the NFL Insider Series with the New York Giants. So also I want to make sure so that you're getting all this great content, make sure you're following Familia FFB on YouTube. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. I've already seen our numbers are growing just in this first week that we've been doing this. And so keep coming back because we're going to hit all the camps. So Familia, this is year 3 with our invitado de lujo. I mean, and this is just one of the truly people that did, I mean, we just talked for 5 minutes. I'm so fired up I could run through a wall. So I'm just going to bring him in. Paul Dottino from WFAN Radio. Also, he's one of the voices of Big Blue Kickoff Live on Giants.com. Mi amigo, welcome, bienvenido.
Gracias. Hey, my friend, very good to talk to you again. I'm glad to say that this black hole in the NFL schedule, which has just begun, is going to be over sooner than you think. And training camp, for me at least, opens with our first practice on July 24th, and I'm itching to go.
Oh, man. You know, it really feels like it's so funny. Like when mini camps, OTAs and mini camps end, all of a sudden it's just kind of like, it feels like 6 weeks feels like 5-6 weeks feels like a long way away. And then all of a sudden, you know, here we are on the cusp of the 4th of July, and, you know, it's like, it's coming. So football is here. So, mi amigo, rough season last year. Injuries, just I don't know if there was a more injured team last year than the New York Giants. So, you know, it washed off so much of the positive feeling that had come from the previous season where, you know, the team that made the playoffs, Daniel Jones made a big jump. Now Daniel Jones is coming off an ACL injury, and also he had the neck injury that has cropped up here and there. A lot of uncertainty. First off, can you give me a look at him from a health standpoint, and
sure,
kind of like, and then kind of project a little bit towards what we could be looking forward to this year?
Well, Daniel Jones is well ahead of schedule, and by his own accounts, as well as the Giants' accounts, they are planning for him to be ready for the beginning of training camp. Now, you remember it was midway through the season against the Las Vegas Raiders when he tore the ACL, had to wait for the swelling to go down, had the surgery, and has been rehabbing like a demon the entire offseason. Let's face it, he understands it's show-me time for Daniel Jones. You know, 2 years ago when they made the playoffs, he had a terrific season, and the Giants went to the postseason. But then last year he didn't play so well. Then the waterfall of injuries came crashing down on the Giants, and everything went bad, including his obviously the neck injury and then the knee injury. So he knows that he's in his second year of that extension. And to be frank, economically speaking, although it would be a significant dead cap hit next year, it is digestible should the Giants decide to move on from Jones after the 2024 season. So to be frank, there is a tremendous amount of put up or shut up pressure on him this season to not only stay healthy, but to also play well. Now, of course, to do that, he also needs some help from the offensive line, but we'll get to that in just a little bit, I'm sure. Back to his health. He has been outstanding in spring drills. His arm has showed no ill effects at the time off. His legs, my goodness, he's doing alligator runs. He's doing stops and starts. He's doing gassers. He's doing long-range sprints. He's doing everything that you would think a normal quarterback would do with his legs if you didn't know he was injured. So I believe there is a tremendous amount of confidence that the ACL is already in his rearview mirror. And you'll remember, Jorge, there's probably about 8 or 9 named quarterbacks who over the last decade or so have had torn ACLs and come back to start in the league in less than 9 months. So what he's attempting to do here is not exactly uncharted territory. He's just looking to add his name to a list of a host of other guys who have been able to do it. And he is such a conscientious worker and has busted his butt so hard to make it back. Again, He knows it's a put up or shut up year. So what I think you're going to see, they've kept him out of 11 on 11s just as a matter of precaution. Okay? He fully can do them, but they've just kept him out. After all, you and I both know these spring drills, these mini camps, these spring practices, come on, right? It's like flag football. It's not like what he used to be.
It's not for the stars. It's for the guys who are making the team. But yeah, you're right. Flag football.
Okay. So for him, what was there to gain? Nothing really, because he's in all the 7-on-7s. He's in all of the individual drills. They'll occasionally spell him and just give him a day off just to make sure they don't stress him. But then he's doing all the other stuff on the side with the trainers during that day anyway. So he's basically, as far as I could tell, he's pretty much a full go. Now, they may not play him any snaps during the preseason. And why do I say that? Well, for a few reasons. Number one, he knows the system. Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka are still here. So he knows everything about the playbook that there is to know. He's already thrown to more of his veteran receivers than the guys he will not know. He doesn't know Malik Nabers, obviously, and he doesn't know Allen Robinson or Isaiah McKenzie if McKenzie makes the team. But he knows Slayton. He knows Robinson. He knows Hyatt. So he's got already some chemistry with those guys. In addition to that, he's already down in Carolina right now with his entire group of receivers. I don't know if everyone is there, but I think most of them are there, to have his own passing camp, which a lot of quarterbacks in this league do that, right? They take advantage of the black hole and they take their guys out to throw. Jones is doing that. So he has clicked every box, or checked every box is the term I should be using, to make a successful comeback. The Giants will also have 2 back-to-back practice day sessions with the Detroit Lions, a reciprocal from when they went to Detroit last year. Those controlled practices, or scrimmages, if you will, are where a lot of head coaches like to play their starters and their rehab guys because they have such control over what's going on. Remember, the coaches kind of go over exactly what they're going to do, and they have gentlemen's agreements that, we're not going to hit this guy. We're not going to go full out against this guy. So head coaches in the league believe that it's safer, while still getting the benefits of having a guy in a controlled scrimmage as opposed to the preseason, where who knows what could happen during a preseason game. So I think it would not shock me, based on that style of philosophy that a lot of coaches take, including Brian Daboll, that he'll be in the scrimmages against the Lions. They also have planned a dual practice scrimmage against the New York Jets. There's one of those. So I think you'll see Jones take 11 on 11s in that as well. But it won't shock me if he doesn't take a preseason snap. And I want to make sure that people are not alarmed if they don't see him in the preseason for that very reason.
So could he kind of one of the things that we've talked about, he has an underrated deep ball, and now it looks like he's got some weapons.
Yeah.
So, the last 2 drafts, you've drafted the Fred Biletnikoff winner of 2022. And last year, this is the guy I want to talk about, Malik Nabers. The number 6 overall pick. I went on record that I thought the Chargers should have picked him at number 5. I think they got lucky that they got Ladd McConkey when they did in the second round.
That's a good value pick for them.
That's a good value pick. I think Malik Nabers. I saw what I saw out of him, and it's not. I'm not scouting. Based on I'm not helmet scouting or college scouting. I saw a little bit of Jamar Chase. And not because LSU, I was looking at Cincinnati Jamar Chase and saw some similarities. Could Malik Nabers kind of be an ingredient to really, in this Brian Daboll offense, who is an expert play caller? Could he be one of those guys who really makes a splash in his rookie year?
It's possible, but you know what, Jorge? This is what it comes down to. As I tell people all the time, the Giants need guys who are projections to become productions. And if that happens in 2024, this Giants team is going to be relevant in the wild card conversation deep into December, because Malik Nabers, by everybody's account, and I did not, and I was at the combine. I don't remember how many people I talked to at the combine, but the numbers get off the charts. When you're there for a week, you wind up talking to everybody, it seems, right? I do not remember a single solitary person who would say that either Harrison, Nabers, or Odunze were not going to be immediate impact receivers. I could not find one. Now, myself, I thought Odunze would have been a better mix for the Giants' room because he's a skyscraper and a more polished receiver and more mature than Nabers is. But in terms of talent, all three of those guys are unanimous can't-miss receivers. So when they picked up Nabers, I was like, all right, so they just took the vanilla ice cream instead of the strawberry or the chocolate. What's the difference? All three are good. So, Nabers so far in the spring drills showed that his toolbox is exactly as advertised. He's got terrific hands. He made a Beckham-type one-handed fingertip backward stretching grab the other day at one of the practices. So, that's not in doubt. He's got the hands. He certainly has the speed, undoubtedly has the quicks. When you see his maneuverability, he is as nifty as they come off the line of scrimmage. So, what don't we know? Well, we don't know how he's going to react to when he gets hit by bigger, faster defenders in the National Football League. That we don't know yet, right? I mean, it's impossible to know that because no one's been hit in spring drills. We don't know if he will absorb the entire playbook or at least a large enough portion of it to make an immediate impact. We don't know that yet. We don't know how much, and again, he's supposed to be the deep threat. He's not necessarily going to be asked to block a ton, but wide receivers do have to block on occasion. Okay, they're not just pass catchers. I'm a firm believer that every wide receiver who steps on the field has to show a willingness to block, and when called upon, he's got to at least make a strong attempt to get in the way. Well, we don't know about that either right now. So those are the projections that he must fulfill if he is going to be an immediate producer.
Awesome. The next thing I want to talk about, and then I want to talk about the kind of like in general a little bit. During I think it was right after Saquon Barkley signed with the Eagles, they asked him who was looking. Rich Eisen asked him who had looked good, toward the end of the season with the Giants, and he specifically talked about Jalin Hyatt. Possibly, kind of looking forward to him maybe taking a step forward in his second year. I remember you said some good things about him last year. He flashed in a couple games, but could that second year jump come for him for the 2022 Biletnikoff Award winner?
Yeah, Hyatt has concentrated on getting a little more stronger and more physical than he was as a rookie. Remember, when he played at Tennessee, he was a slot receiver who was pencil thin and wiry. Gained 15 pounds his first year with the Giants, knowing that there were more physical and stronger corners and safeties in this league that he was going to have to deal with, especially if he was going to try to play some outside receiver and come out of the slot. Well, he did. But I think with the Giants' offensive line troubles, as you know, it didn't matter who was at quarterback last year. They didn't get a lot of time to throw, okay? Which doesn't give your receivers a lot of time to make those maneuvers that they want to use to get downfield. So, unfortunately, I think Hyatt's rookie season was somewhat stunted by the fact that he wasn't getting a lot of targets in the kinds of places that you would want to get him the ball. So, yeah. Do I think he showed a lot of rookie flashes? Do I think it was a solid rookie season? I do. Do I think he could have made more of an impact had other circumstances been better? I think probably yes. So my answer to you in year number 2, as he has tried to put on a little bit more muscle again, doesn't look like he's lost a step. He's got blazing speed. Yeah. I'm looking forward now to seeing Hyatt, make another step forward, take a step up, and become a much more dangerous weapon. I do think, however, that if you were to list the Giants' top 3 receivers, you've got to list Darius Slayton, who has been the most consistent. And over the course of the last 5 years, I think he's one of the top 6 receivers in the National Football League, averaging over 15 yards a catch over the last 5 or 6 years. He's consistently good, for an 800-yard season pretty much. So he's really solid, and Daniel Jones trusts him. So Slayton's one of them. Wan'Dale Robinson came on very strong the second half of last season after he rehabbed from a torn ACL the year before. That seems to be a theme with the Giants, by the way. Injuries go together with the logo on their helmet. Oh, man. And he is a slot receiver and can be used in a variety of ways on gadgets, not just regular receiving plays. And then, of course, you've got Nabers, who might crack the starting lineup right out of the box. Maybe they don't have to wait a few weeks for him to get ready. Maybe he's ready to go week 1 against Minnesota. So that says to me that Hyatt would be the 4th receiver on the field under that scenario. But it's also entirely possible that Nabers starts out as the 4th receiver and the other 3 guys are your starting 3 week 1. Because we don't know exactly how long it's going to take Nabers to pick up the full playbook. Right. You don't want to throw him out there in week 1 if he's not running the right routes and the ball goes into the hands of the opposition. That's never a good idea.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Okay, so I want please help, since I think it was 2018 when he got drafted, Saquon Barkley. This backfield has just been his, and now he's gone. He's taken his talents to Philly. Yeah, we're looking at Devin Singletary with, Tyrone Tracy is getting a little bit of chatter in the fantasy community. Eric Gray last year was getting some love. How do the running back carries look like they're going to be broken up this year?
Singletary has been the lead back on a playoff team every season he's been in the league and rushed for between 800 and 900 yards. He's steady. He's solid. He's smart. He's incredibly durable. The durability issue is the one thing that he has over Barkley. Okay? We all know the talent that Barkley is. I won't say he's in that class.
Yeah.
But the durability issue is huge. All right? That's one of the reasons why, everybody in the league believes that the Eagles way overpaid for Barkley. Because they didn't take into account the durability. They paid him for his talent, which is great. He's a tremendously one of the top 3 talented backs in the NFL. But the durability issue has to come into play when you're forking over those kinds of bucks, don't they?
Yeah.
So he goes and gets overpaid and goes to Philadelphia, and the Giants settle for a guy who I think is making, 35 to 40% of what Barkley's salary cap hit was, who is incredibly durable. And he also catches the ball well out of the backfield. So he's going to be the lead guy in what's now a backfield by committee. He's not going to be a bell cow. Don't expect Devin Singletary to touch the ball 26, 27, 28 times a game. That's not going to happen. It'll be a running back by committee. How does Eric Gray fit in? Last year's rookie from the 5th round. Had a disappointing rookie season. They tried to use him on special teams, and I think that really messed with his head, and he just never got into a groove. They also had Matt Breida there last year, too, who's no longer on the team. So he had a deep depth chart to fight over. He had 2 veterans in front of him. So he was kind of buried. I still think he's got a lot of tools. And then there's Tyrone Tracy, this year's 5th round pick,
right?
Who is do you know much about Washington's Antonio Gibson? Yeah. The running back with the Commanders.
Uh-huh.
Much like him, he's a converted wide receiver. Came to college as a receiver. They converted him into a running back. He has wide receiver type elusiveness and hands, but also has some more thickness to him than you would think, and has some really good explosiveness and quickness. I think it would not surprise me if, as a rookie, he carves out a solid role as a third down back. Would not shock me at all. You want to get this guy out in space out of the backfield. Now, the one thing that he's going to have to do, we're going back to that projection word again, Jorge. He's going to have to understand, if you can't pick up a blitz, you can't play on third down. That's it. You sit. You do not play.
Yeah.
So Tracy wasn't asked to do that much in college. He's going to have to prove that if asked to do that here, he can. That may be the only boundary that prevents him from becoming a third down factor immediately.
No, I that's the one thing, and that maybe he gets off to a slow start. But yeah, Singletary, you said the best ability is availability. If you post every week, you're going to be way ahead of the game so much. So yeah, it's underrated player. He's going later in early drafts right now. So I mean, definitely a guy who's taking like the second running back, third running back for fantasy teams. And so,
well, he's going to be there every week.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, that's his track record. Wait a minute, time out. He put on a Giants helmet, which means now he's got to get injured.
Please no. Let's change. Let's change the luck factor.
Don't you see the injury bug flying over the head of the stadium here? Don't you see it? I keep trying to shoot it with Raid, but for some reason the damn thing won't die.
You're staying healthy though, right? You got your ACL.
I'm good.
Yeah, that's good. The injury bug is staying away from you too, so that's a good thing. I want to find out on the tight end side. Darren Waller retires. It looks like Daniel Bellinger, who's battled his own injuries, like you said. How much of a factor, considering that it looks like the wide receiver room is going to be pretty busy?
Yeah, we didn't even mention Isaiah McKenzie, the free agent that they picked up from Buffalo, and he's been with Buffalo most of his career, and Allen Robinson, the other veteran, who had spent most of his career with Jacksonville and Chicago, is also in the Giants receiver room. So, I mean, they got bodies there now. And Isaiah Hodgins is back again, too. So the Giants have a very deep wide receiver room as it stands today. So how many passes are going to go to the tight ends? Boy, that's a really good question. Bellinger had an off year last season. He was nicked up a bit. He did have a few very costly penalties. He just wasn't very sharp. And I think it was a shame because he had a really strong rookie season, both blocking and catching the ball. And then he took a step back last year. So now if he can get back on the horse and be the guy who they projected him to be when they took him, well, again, we're at that word again, that projection word. In the third year, can Bellinger really break out and reach his full potential, be the full-rounded player that they think he can be? He's scheduled to be the starter in week 1 right now. They did draft Theo Johnson in the 4th round out of Penn State, who, if you know anything about the relative athletic score system, the RAS, if you will,
oh yes,
scored off the charts, one of the top athletic tight ends in the history of the RAS scoring system. He is long. He has a big, tall frame. He's got a tremendous catch radius. He is very pliable, like Gumby. Tremendous athlete, exactly as advertised. At Penn State, they used him primarily as a blocker. They had a very nondescript passing game. And so that's why in the draft, he dropped so low to the 4th round. Because, after all, he didn't show a lot of big play ability in Penn State's offense. They didn't do much with him. The Giants simply looked at the toolbox and the skills and said, oh boy, this guy could be really, really something. He's already known how to block while at Penn State, and he's got all the tools to be a heck of a receiver. Let's take him. So, again, how quickly can a rookie assimilate himself into the pro game? Can he challenge Bellinger? I think at some point he certainly will. Will he do that in week 1? I'm not so sure. And Lawrence Cager, a receiving type tight end, had a terrific camp, according to head coach Brian Daboll. So he's fighting to be the third tight end. And then you have veterans Chris Manhertz and Jack Stoll, who are blocking tight ends. They were picked up in the offseason as free agents. They're also in the room right now trying to battle for a spot. But I think between Bellinger and Johnson, the Giants feel like they've got two guys they could be really happy with for quite a few years.
No, and well, we know that there's a long tight end history with the organization. So, so a lot for them to live up to. Okay, we've touched on this one a little bit. The offensive line, I don't think there was a group that got hit harder on this team with injuries than this one. I mean, starting with Andrew Thomas, one of the best left tackles in the NFL, missed a chunk of the season. What's the state of this group now? Because especially considering the fact that how important it's going to be to keep Daniel Jones clean coming off of that ACL.
Yeah, it's really like what we talked about last year, Jorge. The starting 5 offensive line that is projected should have been functional enough last year to get the job done and to make the Giants competitive. But once again, that injury bug just kept biting them week after week after week after week. And it was a mess. I mean, they brought Justin Pugh off the sofa out of basically, league-imposed retirement to come in and play not just guard, but he also played some at tackle for this team last year. Off the sofa. Can you get more desperate than that? So it's hard for me to imagine that they're not on the way up. After that, there's no more bottoms to go.
Yeah.
So, Andrew Thomas, we know, is an all-pro caliber left tackle. Okay? Obviously, he needs to stay healthy. On the other side, Evan Neal has been beset by injuries for the first 3 years of his career. He also had a disconnect with the offensive line coach, Bobby Johnson, who's no longer here anymore. They brought in Carmen Brasillo, who was the offensive line coach with the Raiders, and prior to that had worked with the Patriots under Dante Scarnecchia, who is, as you know, the guru of offensive line coaches in recent history in the NFL. I think that Brasillo is the biggest addition to the Giants' offensive line room. He is being tasked with, once Neal gets healthy from his offseason ankle surgery, and he didn't do much during the spring, but once he gets healthy, it is his job to make Evan Neal produce like the first-round pick he was several years ago. That is task number 1 for Coach Brasillo. If he can make that happen, and again, that's a projection, my friend. That word is worth $1 billion, projection. If he can get that to happen, you have John Michael Schmitz in his second season this year, and I don't care what the analytics grades people say. He was a rookie, okay? He had some ups and downs like all rookies do. He is a technique-oriented guy, incredibly smart with a great work ethic and a terrific leader. Was he overmatched sometimes as a rookie? Yes, he was. Did he wear down as a rookie? Yes, he did. Did it impede his performance that he had rotating offensive linemen throughout the season playing next to him? Yes, it did. So is it reasonable to believe that a guy who was taken high in the second round and by some thought was the best center in the draft in 2023, is it too much to expect him to improve in year 2 and be solid? I don't think so. You could disagree, but I don't think so. That seems very logical to me. So he's the center. And then your 2 guards are Jermaine Illuminor, who, out on the West Coast, you guys remember, he was with the Raiders. He's played all four positions other than center on the offensive line. And so he right now is the starting left guard, and he's a solid player. In fact, he worked with Coach Priscilla with the Vegas Raiders, last year. And John Runyon, who, came in as a free agent from the Packers. Solid, steady player. Not spectacular, not a Pro Bowl player, but he's solid and steady. And so what I tell people all the time, the offensive line for me is like a college course that is pass-fail. It's not necessarily about getting an A, B, or C. It's about, is it a pass-fail? Is your offensive line functional? That is my magic word for an offensive line. Functional, by definition, to me, means that your coaching staff can go to any chapter in the playbook at any time during the game and have confidence that you can run that play effectively. When your offensive line is dysfunctional, they have to throw out several chapters of the playbook and can't go to those plays because they know you can't run them. A dysfunctional offensive line is like being shorthanded in a hockey game. The defense is on the power play, and you're shorthanded. I think this Giants starting five, again, I hate to go there, but they've got to be functional. There is a projection that they will be functional. That's all they've got to do. They were functional in 2022. They had a functional offensive line. And what happened? Daniel Jones looked really good and got them to the playoffs, even though Richie James was their leading receiver with 57 catches. Think about that for a minute. An NFL team with a leading receiver that had only 57 catches. So Daniel Jones can do a lot with a little, as long as you give him a functional offensive line.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's definitely something Ross Tucker talks about. It's like you don't need to have – you just need five guys that work together and that are all good, because it's one wrong on that, one wrong that, or, one weakest link that's going to break down. So,
well, every defensive coordinator will find your weakest link on your offensive line. Yes. And they will try to exploit that as often as they possibly can. Bill Parcells used to preach that to me all the time when I started back in the 80s. And he couldn't have been more right.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I look at Max Crosby, one of the best defensive linemen. He always lines up. He finds the guy that he's going to go after, and he's just going to take –
That's it.
You're going to attack him the whole game. Hey, well, speaking of the defensive side, big addition, Brian Burns. And this was a porous defense, both again, last year, got beat against the run, against the pass. Any level of improvement, or is this going to be, or is this still kind of shaping up like a defense that's a work in progress?
I think it's a good defense. I really do, because they now have a triangle, if you will, in their front seven, and I'm a big believer in this as well. You've got Thibodeau on one edge, Brian Burns on the other. Both guys are double-digit sack threats and star-level players who, by the way, don't sell out to get to the quarterback. They are both two-way players. They will both play the run. That is very, very important. They've got Dexter Lawrence, all-pro NFL nose tackle, in the middle. So you've got three studs lining up right on the line of scrimmage. And right behind him, you got Bobby Okereke, who had a Pro Bowl-type season last year at middle linebacker. So you have a triangle, if you will. Three guys in the front, funneling to the middle linebacker. So your front seven has a very strong triangle. That's no different than in baseball when they talk about being strong up the middle. Shortstop, second base, catcher, center field.
Yep.
All right, it's not quite a triangle. In fact, I'm not even sure what that's called, but it's a diamond almost, right?
Strong up the middle, yep. Well, it's almost like a diamend. You
kind of, right?
The second baseman and then the center fielder.
All right, so you follow me. We both took geometry in school.
Yes.
So I see the front seven triangle as being as good as anybody's in the league. I really do. I think those four guys, that triangle is right up there near the top. So that's where you start. Now you got to fill in the rest of the pieces. And I really think that Micah McFadden was a heck of a find late in the draft a couple of years ago. Had over 100 tackles last year. He's very athletic. They brought Isaiah Simmons back, jack of all trades linebacker, who can cover with the best of them, and also shows good blitz capabilities. And, of course, they got Tay Banks, lockdown corner. They drafted in the first round last year. Again, rookie season, but I thought had a solid rookie season when you put it on a rookie curve. I think the sky's the limit for him. I think he could be one of the better top 10 corners in the league. I think he's that good. So, they're filling in the rest of the pieces. They're not sure who the other defensive tackle is going to be. They got a bunch of guys competing for a job. They think they've got bodies and numbers at cornerback 2. Cordell Flott right now looks to be the leader in the clubhouse to be cornerback 2. I like Flott a lot. Came out of LSU a couple years ago. Has a lot of length, very smart player, anticipates well, closes well. I'm a big fan. They think they got a really good pick out of Kentucky and Dre Phillips to potentially be the starting slot. But they also signed Trey Herndon, former free agent from the Titans, which is where Shane Bowen, the new defensive coordinator, came from. Darnay Holmes is back. He's played slot, been inconsistent, but he's a challenger for the spot. And then right now your two safeties would be Jason Pinnock, who had a really solid year last season, including a 102-yard interception return for a touchdown against Miami. And I believe had like 100 tackles, played well. He's a young player, just about reaching his prime now. Solid player. And then the other safety, they're kind of mixed. They're not sure what they're going to do. They got the veteran Jalen Mills, former Patriot and Eagle, in there. They've got Dane Belton, draft choice from a couple of years back, who every time he plays, he shows flashes, but he was either stuck behind Pinnock and McKinney or getting hurt. So he's never fully been able to blossom and challenge as a full-timer. But now he's going to get a chance to compete as a full-timer against Jalen Mills and then against Tyler Nubin, who they drafted in the second round this year out of Minnesota. Incredibly smart. One of the smartest rookie defensive backs I've ever come across. And he's got great work ethic. He's got size. He's got length. Again, great instincts and intelligence and ball skills. Really good at ball hawking. So they got a lot of hopes for Nubin. Now, is he going to start week 1? Wow. He's got 2 veterans in front of him. That's going to be a heck of a heavyweight fight on that depth chart at that other safety spot.
Oh man, I could tell how you're talking about projection needing to turn into production. So
it's the key word. Yeah. Projection's the key word. Here's what I tell people, Jorge. Some teams know when they look at their depth chart, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4 holes, and they know the guys who are going to compete in August aren't good enough. They know whoever wins the job is still going to make them cringe. I know because I've seen seasons like that with the Giants over the last decade or so. That's when you know you're not a very good team. When you know that the competitors for the spot are simply not good enough and you're desperate to look at the waiver wire at the end of August, hoping that you can find an upgrade. When you know that, you know your team's in trouble.
Yeah.
The Giants are not in that position. They're in a position where they believe in their projection spots, they've got legitimate competitors to win an NFL starting job. That's what separates them, I think, from the bottom third of the NFL or the bottom quarter of the NFL, which seems to be where a lot of people want to stick them because they don't know the talent that's in that locker room. They're not there every day. The national media is not here. They're just going by what some rain cloud is telling them, 5,000 miles away.
That's why I love doing these, because your boots on the ground. I mean, gosh, your boots on the ground since 1983. Just absolutely. Oh, mi amigo. Every time we talk, I feel like I feel like I want to run through a wall. I just want to. I'm like so jacked up.
Don't do that. You might get injured like the Giants.
I don't want to. Yeah, because you never know when the injury bug is gonna be flying around.
Oh, watch
out! So, mi amigo. It's summertime out there. I always love to close it out with some food, Mexican food, Mexican drinks, margaritas, anything you're looking forward to this summer.
The truth of the matter is, right now, I am just so gassed out by the heat and humidity that we have had in New Jersey these last couple of weeks. It has destroyed my appetite.
Oh,
I have been, actually, it's good. I could stood to lose a few pounds this summer. So to be honest, I'm actually pretty happy. And it's
when training, best shape of your life when training camp.
You know what? I got a few weeks to go, and I'm shooting for it now. I got a good head start because the humidity has just been really brutal here in New Jersey. And you just don't feel much like doing anything,
Oh, well, margarita time. So it just means margarita.
There you go.
There you go. So, mi amigo, please, Familia, just follow him at WFAN, at Giants WFAN on Twitter. Mi amigo, please feel free. Pump anything you got, anything that's going to be filling up these next few weeks before training.
Well, folks, if you want to hear more about Giants football, again, you can go to my Twitter page, or, of course, Big Blue Kickoff Live is our daily talk show on Giants.com, the mobile app. You can always get an archive of the show on YouTube and your podcast platforms everywhere. I'm one of the rotating hosts on the program. And we give you 1 hour every single weekday, usually live at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to change it up again during the course of training camp and during the season. But we're there every weekday, even during the off season. And we talk Giants football. And this fan base certainly keeps us going because they've got a lot to say on a daily basis.
And they're watching because they found this episode and they made it one of the most watched ones last year. So we got big numbers to fill this year again. So, mi amigo, un gran placer. Grazie, signore.
De nada.
Familia, make sure you're following Familia FFB on YouTube. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Please keep getting more and more of this great content. You're just going to get so much good stuff from our NFL insiders. You know me. I'm at Jorge Martin 17 on Twitter. You can find my stuff at Yahoo, RotoWire, Fantasy Pros. Just plenty of articles coming out. You're going to see so much great content. So, Familia, we're leaving New Jersey right now, land of Springsteen. So, but hey, you know what? My heart's always there. My heart's con mi buen amigo. Muchas gracias otra vez to our amigo Pablo. Gracias to you for joining us. And remember, todos somos familia. Salud.